the order. So I would appreciate if you guys would turn your phones off or put them on vibrate. And then once you've done that, stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all. Okay. So, governing body, Councilor Alsabrook,
Yes, sir.
are you here?
I am. Yes,
Councilor
I
Murray,
do.
are you here?
Yes.
Okay. Councilor Mira, I see you're here.
Aquí.
Councilor Knight,
Here.
Councilor Woolman,
Present.
and Councilor Burkett.
Yeah, in the loosest possible version.
Well, we're glad you made it.
Appreciate it.
Has everybody had a chance to look over the agenda? I need a motion to approve and a second, please.
I move we approve the agenda. I'll second.
So I have a motion to approve the agenda and a second. How do you all vote?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, so the agenda is approved. Administrator's report. It's going to be brief. Very brief. Thank you.
First thing we'll start with is Tanya.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
Thank you, Mayor, Council Administrator Curry. I guess I'm going to do a COVID update again. So as you know, we sent out a letter yesterday. I think council all got to see that as well, that I was definitely noticing a case surge. And what was more concerning is I'm seeing a hospital and an unreported to the state case surge. So I've heard everywhere from 6 to 8% higher is what we should be looking at for reported state case rate. I've also heard for every 2 tests we have in lab reported, we should be looking at 20 others unreported. Met with a physician today, and he said it's probably about double, 50%. If 50% get tested and 50% test at home or just don't test. So that's definitely concerning. So one of the things today, I'll give you some of our numbers. We now have 43 cases for the month of May in Corrales, and we're averaging 1.79. Now that's lab confirmed cases. I know of about 35 non-lab confirmed cases also. So that puts us up into, close to 90. In the last 5 days, we've had 14 cases, last 10 days, 21, last 30 days, or last 14 days, 30. The state, our effective rate, which means how many people they're estimating get infected by one person, is up to 1.27%. Sandoval County, for the last rolling 14 days, our positivity rate went up to 6.2% as of May 16th, and we're averaging 19.4 people per 100,000 with COVID. We did get 1 new cases all today. We had 8 over the weekend for that total. I also look at the hospital numbers. So today we have 103 people in the hospital with COVID. 9 of them are on ventilators. Last Tuesday, we had 61. The Tuesday before that, we had 36.
wow.
So it's definitely going up. And we're still having a high case count for influenza. Yesterday, there was 42 people in the hospital with influenza, and there's still influenza out there. There's RSV out there. There's parainfluenza. People are still getting sick.
Monkeypox.
The CDC has 2 maps. We have the map that says whether or not you should wear a mask. We are getting counties now in New Mexico that are going to yellow. Sandoval County is still green. But what scares me is we have that green, and that green doesn't change until we get an increase of hospitalizations. When you get a surge, hospitalizations lag. They lag 2 to 3 weeks behind a surge of cases. People either start getting really much better between 5 and 10 days, or they start getting worse and then they go to the hospital. So that doesn't change. And once it does change, we're really far into into another spread or another surge. So people need to look at their health, their risk factors. Over 65, vaccinated or not, is a risk factor because our immune systems as we get age aren't as good. So those are things people need to look at. The other thing I really look at closely is the Rio Rancho Public Schools does an amazing job at their cases. They report every single day the cases that they've got. And today they did not get a huge surge. They only got in 11, but yesterday was 30. So far for this month of May, they have 194 cases in their school system. Last month was 54, and the month before that was 45. So we are definitely surging. The other thing I would like to say is home tests are very valuable, but if you have a runny nose, I've heard this so many times every day for the last 5 days. I didn't think it was COVID, thought it was allergies, a little bit of a runny nose, a scratchy throat, maybe a little tired. I took a home test, it said negative, and I went out to X, Y, and Z. Now I'm feeling much worse, and my home test 4 days later is saying I'm positive. What do I do? And I tell them to call people. The issue with home tests, if you feel bad, if you don't feel bad and you're taking them just because you want to make sure you don't have an asymptomatic spreader, great. But if you have symptoms at all, if it's negative, you are supposed to stay home. You are supposed to, or if you're fully vaccinated, you're allowed to go out. You can wear a mask. It should be a KN95 or better. I personally would not go out. I would be waiting or getting a PCR test. And then in 48 hours, you're supposed to test again. But they still, even with those, recommend you get a PCR test. They are still very easy to find. Rapid PCR tests are available through the Curative sites. They take less than 2 hours to get back. You can log in online. So I want people to really be thinking that the pandemic is not over. We need to learn how we're going to live with it. And part of that is taking some responsibility. And if we're sick, staying home and getting the right test. And if we have family members who are older or have organ transplants or on chemotherapy, we may want to mask all the time if we're going to go visit them. So I'll be happy to stand for questions.
So Tanya, these guidelines are listed on our website, correct?
Yes, and they're also listed on the state. The stay home guidelines they're really not guidelines. If you're positive, you're supposed to stay home a full 5 days. You know,
People may not be able to remember all the things we've told them, and they can certainly go to our website and find this same information, correct?
yes, and they can find links to the state. One of the first things on our website under COVID-19 resources, I think it's the second thing down now, is the CDC case calculator. You can click that link and it'll say, do you have COVID? Yes or no? Have you had COVID in the last 90 days? Yes or no? Are you up to date on your vaccine? And up to date means you've had at least your first booster. Yes or no? And then when you put in there, it'll tell you the day you can leave quarantine, isolation at that point, and how long you have to wear a mask. It does that also for close contacts. It tells you, okay, you're fully vaccinated, you've got your booster in, you can go out, got to wear a good mask for 10 full days. Or you're not fully vaccinated, or you've never been vaccinated, you have to stay in you're supposed to quarantine for the full 5 days. It's a great calculator. I love it.
Stuart.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Tanya, do you know that the ones on ventilators, are they unvaccinated or are any of them vaccinated? Do you know?
So in the state, I do not know. And the CDC has some great websites about vaccinated, unvaccinated numbers. If you are vaccinated, it's like 20 times less likely to be on a ventilator. If you're fully vaccinated, that means you're boosters. But the older you get, the more likely you are, even vaccinated, and depending on your health conditions, to end up on a ventilator, because we know our immune systems don't work. So for the state of New Mexico, no, but I can get numbers from some CDC stuff, but it really breaks it down by age, and everything with age says 65 and above, that's where we really have to be careful. Now, there are 20-year-olds who are completely healthy that have gotten it and died, or been on a ventilator for months, or had ECMO for months. There are also some very sick people who've gotten it and done just fine. It is definitely a beast of its own. And getting, the other thing I should have said was getting treatment. If you are in that at-risk category, you need to get a hold of your physician if you get it, or your specialist cardiologist. If not, you can also get, I've got links to where you can find a doctor who would do telehealth to prescribe you Paxlovid. However, since we're getting a surge, it's becoming harder and harder to find the Paxlovid treatment. They get shipments once every week they come in, but it is getting harder.
One more question, if you don't mind, and this is totally unrelated. It seems like the monkeypox is on the rise, or there's some concern. So is there any indication within in the state at all of anyone?
No. So in the state of New Mexico, we have no one under investigation for monkeypox. Chief Martinez and I are always watch for things. That's why we started ordering masks in January and February of 2020. Europe is worried about it going endemic. So not pandemic, but endemic, only because they have so many cases right now, and rodents can get monkeypox and carry it. Right now, there is a case in Broward County that they're looking at possibly being monkeypox. The one up north, Massachusetts, I believe. It is not super contagious. It is contagious, but not as contagious as COVID is.
Sexually transmitted disease.
It is an airborne disease. It can be transmitted just like chickenpox from the pustules from leaking. It can be transmitted just like most viruses through mucosal membrane transfer. And it is a pox that came from monkeys carry it. Some rats can carry it. It is related to cowpox and related to smallpox. But even the epidemiologist reports that I'm looking at, they're not super worried about it becoming an endemic or pandemic here.
So many, as I understand it, many of the epidemiologists and immunologists believe those of us who were vaccinated for smallpox when we were much younger, more than 60 years ago, are probably okay.
Possibly that is true. That we haven't done a lot of titer and a lot of surveillance on. I was vaccinated as a child for measles, mumps, rubella, and polio. And in 1994, my titers were beautiful for those. Went to intermediate school. You have to have your shot record or blood titers. I had to have polio vaccines then because my polio titer was gone. And then when I went in 2010, I had to have MMR because it wasn't mumps, but my measles, I think it was, I no longer had a titer for it. So it just depends on how our body reacted. But we have a national stockpile with some monkeypox vaccines. The smallpox vaccine is definitely in our strategic national stockpile, and it's 85% effective on monkeypox as well.
Anyone else? Tanya, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
And please keep emailing me so we can include that in our weekly report.
I will. Thank you, sir.
Don't make it too complicated.
I will try not to.
So I need to go and get that report and look at it and see how the market.
The next person up, Chief Martinez.
Who was that talking?
Mayor, councilors, Commissioner Curry. I was asked at the last meeting by Councilor Burkett to kind of give you an update on fire situation and our response pertaining to the wildfires in the state of New Mexico. Basically, right now we have no units out there assisting with any wildfires outside of our jurisdiction. As you know, we're too at risk in our own community.
Yes.
And so I can't spare any personnel or equipment right now. So, in the years past, when we sent apparatus out to assist in California and other locations, conditions around here, are better. And there's a lot of decision making that goes into that because you have to look at your local jurisdiction. Our number one priority is the village of Corrales. You also look at what kind of activities around your local area. So, state forestry, other resources, I could tell you that I'm in constant communication with our state forestry office, checking availability as far as resources, other colleagues around surrounding areas. Now, with that said, if we have mutual aid agreements surrounding Corrales, Rio Rancho, Albuquerque, Bernalillo County, Sandoval County, if something was to happen in a smaller geographical area, we're going to do everything we can to help our neighbors. Because I could tell you, when we call them, they come and help us in the village of Corrales. So I hope that kind of sums things up. But trust me, if I had enough, if our village was, not as much of a risk, then I'd be helping other jurisdiction neighbors, our fellow firefighters, our brothers and sisters out there. So as far as that goes, some of you may recall back in when the Cerro Grande fire was going on, Tanya coordinated, efforts here along with Intel and other agencies and local businesses. And we did a big, drive, and we had, I think, 2 semi truckloads of stuff. Unfortunately, this go around, we didn't have, time to really set anything up, but there are a lot of organizations out there that are collecting, money, food, equipment, not only for the citizens that had to evacuate, but also the emergency responders out there. So we really encourage, if you can, help them out, give what you can to, and of course, you always have to watch out for scams, but there are a lot of reputable, places that are doing donation drives over the weekends and stuff. So we highly encourage it. Please participate and help them. So I believe the other question was pertaining to swimming pools. So years ago, we tried to build a database on all swimming pools in the village of Corrales. We even went to the extent of, if you apply for a swimming pool permit within the planning and zoning office, that there was an incentive for you to waive some of those fees if you put a fire department connection into your swimming pool. We thought it was a great idea until the cost, and then we started getting more educated about the construction of a swimming pool. I do not own a swimming pool. However, some of the contractors, when you were stating that depending on where your swimming pool is in the village of Corrales, that if you take all the water out of that swimming pool, it could rise with a higher water table. In other locations, you take all the water out, you can mess up the plaster or whatever type of material they use to seal the swimming pool. So we currently do not have a database on all swimming pools. If time permits, if we have a fire and emergency and we're looking for resources, most of us have phones. We try to bring it up on a map so we can kind of get an aerial view. And on today's technology, you can see that, oh, there's a swimming pool over this fence. We have the right to go take the water. Most swimming pools aren't easily accessible where we could just drive one of our pumper trucks or our tanker trucks to it. But we have incorporated floating pumps on 2 of our tanker trucks that we can take off the truck and go put it either into a swimming pool, a ditch, the river, wherever there's a water source, or I should say a static water source, that we can go ahead and draft that water. If we do that, then after the emergency is over, we're going to do our best to try to get water back into that swimming pool so we don't create any damage. So I hope those answered Councilor Burkett's questions. I think I summed everything up but I'll stand for any further questions.
Counselor Burkett, you have a question?
No, I think that answers my questions. I appreciate the response.
Stuart?
Mayor, yeah, thank you, Chief, for the report, but I think we ought to invite the chief back next month and have him give a report on the fire suppression activities that he's working on, his projects, and I think that would be really insightful and for the council and the administration.
Yeah, absolutely. Mayor, councilors, with your direction, sir, be happy to come back and discuss, things that have done, doing, and plan on doing with your support. Absolutely.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Chief. Appreciate that. Okay,
The last thing I want to mention in my report, and very preliminary, is that we are beginning to reach out to Council of Governments, Middle Rio Grande Council of Governments, since they helped us back in 2009 do our comprehensive plan. We're a little behind, like I think most communities are, but we're starting the initial reach out for it. And purpose will be to meet with the executive director and kind of lay out the opportunities that we have to put this comprehensive plan in front of the village and the kind of input we want to get, and number of tranches we want to have, et cetera, as we go forward on the comprehensive plan. That's it, Mayor.
Yes, sir, Bill.
Mayor, Ron, I was wondering, you might have an update on when the Rio Metro bus service for Corrales might start. I think it was supposed to be around June 1st or so.
June 6th. I talked to the lady
Ah.
today. Terry Doyle, who was the
Yeah.
original contact, he retired. So her name is Elizabeth Carter. I talked to her today.
Mhm.
And it's supposed to, and you have to sign up first. And then it runs Monday through Friday. But
Is-
you have to sign up first.
Is that 24-hour in advance?
I think there's an application just to sign up, but then you have to call yes in advance.
So
Get the-
where do you sign up? Online?
Yes, she said it was gonna be online.
And so this is a door-to-door service?
Well, it's in Sandoval County.
Mhm.
They'll take you to Sprouts. They'll take you to Cottonwood Mall. And they will take you to the bus depot over there by Seaboard.
What about hospitals, doctors?
I guess they still do that. They have been doing that. And she mentioned that they will continue to do that.
Excellent, great. And it's June 6th that starts?
Yes.
Great, thank you.
Anybody
Thank
else?
you.
Okay. Well, that leads us right to Counselor's Forum. There you go. Counselors, do you have any comments or things you want to talk about that are not on the agenda? Stuart?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor and councilors. I just wanted to kind of report also on the Metropolitan Transportation Board. Steve Montiel chaired that. Well, it's actually, I think Mayor Torres chaired that. But anyway, they have been, the DOT apparently has been awarded a mega grant, about $180 million to support rebuilding the Montgomery and Comanche area. That's going to free up money for other projects within the MTB. So they are looking for letters of support. We're supposed to send out copies for us, and so that way we can take a look at it. And if we want to support that effort, it would help them in their grant application. And also those additional monies then will go, that were committed previously, will flow into the rest of the metropolitan program area. Also, there was a presentation on pedestrian safety. They're supposed to be sending out the PowerPoint slides for that. And I will forward that up to council and the administration as well. But one of the things they are working on is what they call a discretionary competitive grant. It also means a matching portion of that might go forward. Looks like they're trying to get the Albuquerque to kick in a lot more money. I'm thinking I'm just going to toss this out, and I don't care where it sticks or not, but being a smaller organization, smaller community, if we want to get skin in the game, maybe we ought to be thinking about, can we contribute something as well to that portion of the grant if it becomes real? I think they're looking at about a $500,000 grant. 400,000 of that would be the grant, and then with 100,000 matching portion of that to be contributed by the local communities. They're trying to get the Albuquerque City Councilors to take part of their discretionary money and kick that in, but it may be something maybe we can discuss. And do we want to contribute just a portion, towards that? I mean, 5,000 or some amount.
So what would that get us?
Well, what it's going to do is it's going to be put forward towards pedestrian safety efforts within the metropolitan area and the MTB. Apparently, we are the highest in the United States in terms of pedestrian deaths. I think they said there was like 7,000 deaths last year. We are probably the highest in the nation in terms of that. They're making this a priority, the pedestrian safety. And one of the other things that we'll probably be working on is a resolution, but as more details come out, we'll forward that information to you and the council. This is just preliminary right now. They're trying to put something together for the next month's meeting.
There are no specifics, is what you're saying?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay.
But it's very encouraging that pedestrian safety has now become one of their top priorities as well. Also, I wanted to just briefly touch on, I got a couple calls about sign ordinance enforcement. And maybe we need to take another look at the sign ordinance because we're probably getting some unintended consequences because of enforcement issues. People are complaining that, they got signs posted on their private property and yet they're getting citations. So maybe we need to take a look at that and see is there something that we are doing that is causing this to take place and so forth.
John,
Just a timely follow on to Councilor Murray's comment about the sign ordinance. Part of the problem may be the format of the notice. I and my neighbor received notice of a sign, and rather than telling me, it was a dated photograph, rather than telling me that this, this section of the ordinance applies and it'll be up for 60 days and then it'll be in violation. The initial letter telling me that I have 60 days has right at the top of it, violation. So I was not in violation at the time, but the way the letter is written makes it look like you are, even though it says you have 60 days. So that may be something.
Mel,
Yeah, I also talked to Jason Kusega today, who's from MRGCD. And as I was talking to him, he said, "You have a council meeting tonight? I can come." And I said, "No, you can't because, we have things on the agenda already." But did you want me to stop?
no, just get your microphone.
Oh, sorry.
Please.
Thank you for the reminder. And he said that he spoke to us about a month ago. And again, it was just good information to hear again. I've gotten 2 calls from people who are farmers that, are really worried about the water situation in the ditches.
Right.
And, he kind of explained to me again what's going on up by the siphon. So I think, he was more than willing to come and speak tonight. Again, I told him he couldn't because he wasn't on the agenda, but that we do have a meeting in June, that maybe he just would want to reiterate what's going on. So maybe we can have them on the next agenda.
We can certainly look into that, yes, if we can make it work with his schedule.
Okay, thank you.
Yes,
Mayor, a couple things. First, another follow-up to Councilor Murray. I guess it was last night, I was looking through the grant listing coming from Senator Heinrich's office. The first one on there had to do with a fair amount of money, federal grants, again, for pedestrian safety. And I sent that on to Tanya and to have her take a look at that. Secondly, I'd like to take note of the horrific shooting today in Texas, killing 14 elementary school students. There seems to be no end and no answers. And, it's just
it's actually increased. It's up to 18, I think.
18.
18 children, let's put it that way.
It's just horrific. But on a better note, I want to thank the mayor, administrator, and our clerk, as well as the Dennis Friends Foundation for a very productive meeting last Friday. I have been, shall I say, harping for several months to try to improve the situation for temporary housing for dogs that are picked up here in the village. And I think we have an agreement to move forward based on the model that Sandoval County is now using behind their administrative offices. And I want to thank the aforementioned who all went up to see that facility up there. And I think we're impressed as I was. Also want to thank Commissioner Brooke, who will be contributing $25,000 for animal services for the effort there as well. So,
And Commissioner Brooke is in the back, and I didn't point her out when we first started. Sorry about that.
Yeah, great. That's good.
So there is a conceptual plan. But
Yes.
it's not all,
Right,
on paper yet.
right.
Okay.
Good. Thank you.
Anyone else? Counselors? Well, that was a good discussion. Thank you. Okay, now we'll start Corleone's forum. Melanie, who's first?
First up is Fred Hashimoto. If you could state your name and address for the record.
I'm Fred Hashimoto. I live at 485 East Lawn Trouble. Mr. Mayor and councilors, thank you very much. I'd like to encourage you to please support the village purchasing the Gonzalez 3-acre property. The property has location, it's got heritage, it's got future, it's all wrapped into one. Next slide, please. This is in green, the Gonzalez land, the 3 acres. It's next to other village holdings, the library, Lawn Trotha Park, the band shell, the children's playground. Across the street is a municipal complex. Right now, the village hall, senior citizens, senior center, etc. Next, please. Bird's eye view shows number 4. That's the 3 acres. It shows number 3 is the Gonzalez Boss farmland, Sandoval residence, Acequia and Corrales Road. Next, please. This illustrates very interestingly pedestrian and vehicular access in that area. And it doesn't show up very well, but that on the top is the farmland, then it's got the library, then it's got the municipal center. Anyway, they're separate, isolated entities. The library, the Gonzalez Boss, the playground, the park, they have no access from Corrales Road right now. They are basically landlocked. If Corrales buys the 3 acres, we look at the bottom figure, it's very different. So the bottom figure with the 3 acres gives vehicular and pedestrian access to those properties from Corrales Road, and they're all linked together. Furthermore, if that 3 acres is purchased, basically the village has a presence of property on both sides of Corrales Road, which is really cool. Next, please. 300 years ago plus, Juan Gonzalez Boss built corrals here for his sheep. The family still owns the property. It is farmland, it is agriculture, it is open space, it is heritage, it is Corrales. Thank you very much. Next, please. Some artists, some architects drafted some schematics about what the village might do with the 3 acres. This is from Terry Brown and John Thompson. Next, please. This is from Pat McClernand. Next, please. This is a map of the Corrales Arts and Cultural District. You can't see it very well, but that big green in the middle is the farmland, but they added in the 3 acres already optimistically, which is cool. On the top is the old church area, and on the bottom is the rec center area. And this is all linked. It lies along the commercial district. Basically, if we purchase the 3 acres, it will connect the Acequia with the interior drain. Next, please. And actually, if we get the 3 acres, it is the missing piece of that picture. Several months ago, our mayor said that it was very important for Corrales to keep moving towards a future that honors our past. The 3 acres, Gonzalez property does that in spades. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And next is Mr. Kurt Flora joining us by Zoom.
Hello, can you all hear me?
Yes.
Yes, Kurt Flora, 560 Andrews Lane. One of my biggest issues for this week is Friday at 6:43 a.m. I called 911 to dispatch an ambulance because my wife stopped breathing. In the meantime, I waited and waited and waited. I got her breathing again by mouth to mouth. I was on the dispatch line with 911. I asked them what time, how long it's been. They said 19 minutes and 18 seconds or so. Corrales Fire Department has not showed up. 20 minutes, 13 seconds to go 1.5 miles from the fire department to my house. That is unacceptable. My wife was admitted to the hospital with COVID. We both have COVID. She stopped breathing. And on top of that, Monday we received in our mail from planning and zoning violations on our property about vegetation growth and stuff like that. We've gotten all kinds of pictures about the vegetation. instead of coming down and talking to us about any violations or even ask us what's going on around here, or even coming down the driveway. I don't know if you can see this. This is a trailer loaded with debris, ready to go to the dump. There's another picture, a trailer loaded to go to the dump. We have been working on this property for 20 years. We spend approximately anywhere from 20 to 30 hours a week, every time, every summer, all summer long, clearing this property. And to get violations without any notice, and for them to come on and take pictures and say that we're not doing anything is just beyond me. 2 weeks ago, Candace Cordova handed Melanie in the last meeting there the resignation letter she submitted to the village in 2018 that the village denies they have. She also submitted with that the time it was sent in, I believe, and who it was sent to. Melanie seemed to have not been able to find this in the village record. So this record mysteriously disappeared from village offices. So is the mayor also hiding village property? I mean, this once it's turned into the mayor, it is considered, it's a work thing. It's village property. IPRA requested it going on almost 4 years. Oh, actually 4 years now that we put in an IPRA request.
Mr. Floyd.
Okay, this guy got 4 minutes just a minute ago. 4 years ago, we put in an IPRA request for that document. And
Who's next?
That's all for this evening.
as today, we still don't have the document.
Ellie, did you say anybody was next?
That's it.
That's it? Okay. So let's move on to the consent agenda. Does anybody have anything they want to remove from the consent agenda? If not, I need a motion to approve and a second, please.
Mayor, I move we approve the consent agenda.
Do I have a second?
Second.
So I have a motion for and a second to approve the consent agenda, which includes several resolutions. Mr. Woolman, how do you vote?
Aye.
Ms. Knight?
Aye.
Ms. Miera? Aye. Mr. Murray?
Aye.
Mr. Alsorbrook?
Aye.
Mr. Burkett?
Aye.
I didn't forget you. So the consent agenda passes. One thing I wanted to mention about number 5, we have to continue that every 30 days because it's only good for 30 days. So we'll do that again in June and probably again in July and perhaps again in August. New business, consideration, action, approval of proclamation 22-03 declaring June 1st, 2022 as Jeff Radford Day in the village of Corrales. Woo-hoo. Would you stand for an applause? You know, it's not everybody who gets a whole day named after him. Would you like to say anything?
Sure. I was just going to say that I was looking at all the mayors up here, and I have attended just about every council member that every Corrales mayor has presided over.
Well,
And so that's a hell of a long time.
and you have been here a while.
I have. And I was going to say that there's a sale, some of you know that there's a sale pending for the newspaper. And I have committed to trying to help the transition along. My main objective for 5 years has been to try to see that the paper continues. And so I will be sitting right over there for the foreseeable future, actually, just to sort of help the transition.
Well, maybe the next move is we have to have a Jeff Radford chair.
There you go. A little label on it. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Jeff. Thank you for all you've done. So do I have a motion?
Mayor, I move that we approve proclamation 2203.
Do I have a second? Second. I have a motion and a second to approve proclamation 22-03. Does anybody want to make any comment?
Mayor, I just say that it's, it's good to have a local paper who keeps track of the local things going on, the local activities. That the Albuquerque Journal or the Rio Rancho Observer, they probably couldn't do the job that Jeff has put in for the last 40 years. And this village has really excelled by having him print that paper for the last 40 years. So anyway, thank you much.
John?
I was just going to say, I send copies of the paper to friends around the country as an example of what they should expect from their local papers.
Anyone else? Bill?
Yeah, I just want to thank Jeff for his early on recognition of climate change and your persistent reminding us of what we face and what we need to do. So I want to thank you for that.
Anyone else? Okay, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor of proclamation 22-03, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay. Proclamation 22-03 is approved. And Jeff, your day is June 1st.
What are you gonna do?
He's going to go to Walt Disney. I mean Disneyland, excuse me. Consideration action approval of resolution 22-03 adopting the preliminary fiscal year 2022-2023 budget. So I need a motion to approve. In a second, please.
Mayor, I move that we approve resolution 22-34.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve resolution 22-34. Are there any comments, questions? Yes, sir.
So we've met the, Mayor, we've met the deadline that you set. What's the next step? We send this to the state?
Yes, this will go up to DFA and then they'll ask us to approve the final one. And we'll do that in July.
And things may come up, I assume. Do we anticipate any changes from this one we just approved?
We hope not.
No, and they really
I know
They
they
really
frown-
don't want to change anything and they don't want us to change anything between this one and the one that we vote on in July.
That was the plan.
Yeah.
Okay.
One other comment, Mayor.
Yes, sir, Stuart.
So we passed this and it's approved by the state. And can we have any ad hoc resolutions where it might behoove us to add some money or, to the budget? Can we do that?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
This isn't written in stone. This is a working document. And if, as you pointed out last time, if we hit a bump in the road with
Yeah.
regard to the economy, we can modify it. It does take a budget adjustment resolution. And we don't want to have a whole bunch of those, but we certainly don't want to have a problem here in the village with our finances.
True.
So no, we monitor those and then we'll all meet either in December or January to discuss the situation at that time. Okay? Okay, how do you vote? Counselor Alsobrook,
Aye.
Counselor Murray,
Aye.
Counselor Miera,
Aye.
Counselor Knight,
Aye.
Counselor Woolman,
Aye.
Counselor Burt Kipp.
Aye.
Very good, sir. Thank you. Okay, so that resolution has been approved. Yes, sir.
I just want to say one more time, and I think I'm speaking for the mayor as well, that we really appreciate the work that Reina Aragon did putting this together. It was very tight.
Yes. 3 cheers for Reina Aragon. Reina, are you there?
I'm here, Mayor.
Oh,
Thank you.
thank you. Thank you. You did a great job. And you
Thank
continue
you.
to do a great job.
I'll try.
So the next is confirmation of commission appointments. And these are all new appointments. Sonia Betez to the Bosque Advisory Commission, Richard Groff to the Corral Senior Center Advisory Committee, James Wright to the Performing Arts Committee, Linda Parker to the Performing Arts Center Committee, Tony Messick. These were all individuals who represented various groups in the village who had interest in this. John Schuman, John Young, Ken Duckert, and Bonnie Gonzalez. And they are the ad hoc committee to try to help come up with a plan for this multi-use performing arts center that we are contemplating at the Old Jones House. So I need some motions and seconds to approve this group. We'll start with Sonia. Do I have a motion and a second to approve her to the Bosque Advisory Commission?
I was going to move from number 1 to number 9.
Oh, okay. Can we do that? I have no problem with that. I didn't know if you wanted to do it that way or not, but yes. So you want to make a motion to approve all 9 of them?
Correct.
Do I have a second?
Second.
And I have a second. So all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, well, that sort of handles most of the business of the meeting. Now we need to have a motion to move into closed executive session. And we'll do this pursuant to the provisions of the New Mexico Open Meeting Act adopted by the Village Council pursuant to NMSA 1978, Section 10-15-1H8. The Village Council will convene an executive session for the discussion of the purchase, acquisition, or disposal of real property or water rights by the public body. Do I have
Mayor, I
a
move
motion?
that we move
Get a second.
into the village council executive session, closed session.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second to go into closed session. Counselor Alsterbrook, how do you vote?
Aye.
Counselor Woolman?
Aye.
Counselor Miera?
Aye.
Counselor Murray?
Aye.
Counselor Knight?
Aye.
And Counselor Burkett.
Aye.
Okay, so we're in closed session.
The
Sounds
recording
like
will
it.
be paused.
He sounds like a drunken sailor, you know.